It's time to make fun of liberals.
Yeah.
I could go for like 7 days, just straight, nonstop talking
about liberals.
Mm.
I get tired. Mean, yeah, no, it is really tiring. But ultimately, at the end of the day, like the recent events of this weekend have just super solidified everything I hate with liberals. Like, and I literally say that every episode. Like, someone could make a compilation of me saying I hate liberals, and it'd be like an hour long. But like, goddamn. So, for anyone watching in the future or is living under a rock, basically over the weekend, Hamas and Palestinian freedom fighters essentially broke out of the world's largest prison in a massive assault against the Israeli apartheid, genocidal, colonial settler state. And it's really shaken the world. I don't think anyone expected them to be this successful. I don't think maybe they even expected to be this successful, but they really took the empire by surprise. And it is the talk of the town, to say the least. So I think it would be really interesting to talk about just in general the implications of what this means, but also what the fuck everybody was doing when they found out this was happening. Because I was at work. I was doing the night shift, and I'm just taking care of my patients or whatever. And I went to check my phone real quick, and I opened up TikTok, and the first thing I see is that Palestinian beautiful man paragliding into Israel, like on some Call of Duty shit. And I chef's kiss, like
reminded me of Far Cry, kinda.
I was like, it's literally how you enter like Warzone for Call of Duty. How they entered in there.
Right. I actually have it on a Google Doc real quick. I'll pull it up. I got some videos to show people about really just how incredible this whole situation really was.
But to answer your question, so over the weekend I was actually making like a short film. So and my phone was dead the entire time. Like at the start of the shoot, my phone died, and because I was directing, I just never got my charger because I was so busy. So it was probably like Monday morning by the time I checked my phone again. And I was like, it's like I went to a cabin and just locked myself away from the world, and everything popped off in that time. I was like, oh shit. Oh my God. And I just started scouring for information, just everything I could find. It was wild.
Yeah, I think I was just scrolling through Twitter, and then all of a sudden I saw like a post. As soon as I saw that post, I kind of just went into like search mode also and started looking for some Telegram channels that I could join. And I think I was just sharing what I found to the chat, but I think everybody already knew by then. But yeah, I mean, although Twitter or X is super cancerous, they do be keeping updates on like just about anything going on geopolitical wise.
For sure. Larry, what were you up to on that fateful day?
I can't say.
Classified.
Where were you? What country were you in?
Classified information.
Bosnia.
Needless to say, I found out secondhand.
By sure it wasn't firsthand, Larry?
That was not firsthand. I was not there. I was here.
I don't know. I saw some particular footage, and I was like, "Is that Larry?" I sent it to the group.
Who's the 6'2" fucking white guy climbing the fence?
He's speaking perfect Arabic.
No, a friend of mine, she told me, she's like, holy shit, something's going on in your stupid political world.
In your stupid political world.
Your friends.
Online centrists usually aren't either.
Yeah, true centrists. Yeah, fucking. Yeah.
So real quick, let's see if I can, let's see how this works real fast. I want to share something with you all. Can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
Mhm.
So just a TikTok I saw, because the memes, of course, are impeccable. We got
Mm-hmm.
that went by really fast, but there it is, the glider of Gaza. And I mean, look at it. Look at this. It's literally like, I'm not even sure this wheel is secured on here. This guy probably is incredibly uncomfortable. But you know what? All jokes aside, and we have to make jokes, or we're just not gonna have a good time. Is these are just regular people. They're not soldiers. They're not commandos. I mean, that's a fucking commando, but they're not professional, commandos. They're just. I like what you said to us the other day, Larry. Like they have such an incredible will to live that some person, when they were a child, never dreamed of jumping into literally a how do you call it, propeller on a fucking parachute and glide into enemy territory, when that thing probably could have fallen apart at any time.
Yeah,
easily.
According to comments, it's like Mad Max. Yeah, 100%.
I'm sure those, like, when they got in that thing, they were well aware. It's like, there's a very good chance we're not coming back. Like this, there's no way that they didn't think that. And the fact that it was as successful as it was is wild to me.
No, absolutely. I mean, we could take this in a couple different ways. I mean, I think we should basically, we could summarize like what exactly happened, where we're at now, and then just everyone's sort of initial reaction to it. And I don't mean us, I mean the geopolitical community in general. So go for it.
Obviously, the biggest news story I heard revolving it was Mia Khalifa was fired from Playboy. So, earth-shattering information.
That's the biggest news. Yep.
Yeah. Nothing else. Just Mia Khalifa no longer Playboy.
That's in the chat, boys. Well, like you said, I didn't even know Playboy was.
I didn't. Yeah. 90% of the comments of that article were Playboy's a thing still.
Yeah.
News to me. I thought they went out with the pandemic.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, but essentially, yeah, there was this major offensive from Hamas into Israeli territory. They essentially butchered the southern Israeli command, cut the snake off from the rest of the body, and Israel is scrambling. And of course, they immediately responded with missile attacks, tank attacks, artillery, knocking down buildings, and the death toll. Whatever they're reporting now, I'm sure will double, triple over the next coming hours. But yeah, I think a lot of it too, at least to me, what I'm seeing, there definitely had to be inside men in this situation. And I think for as terrible as nations like the United States and Israel are, there is also, like we were talking about last episode, there's movement in general happening around the world. People are becoming conscious, maybe not quite class conscious yet, but people are becoming conscious to a greater sense of, what needs to happen in the world. So I really would not be surprised if there are Israeli collaborators in this situation.
I wouldn't either. Whether we find that out later from like documents or verified proof, if we found out that someone on the inside gave information that made this attack possible.
And they think it was Donald J. Trump, apparently.
Oh my God, I saw that.
Saying that it was Donald J. Trump accidentally leaked information to Vladimir Putin, and Vladimir Putin then gave that information to either directly to Hamas or to somebody who then gave it to Hamas. So, even in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, liberals are throwing jabs at Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin.
Yep, they gotta have to blame someone, and that is their villain. That's their James Bond villain.
Not that those guys are, blameless, but come on, like, what are you talking about here? What is the necessity of this conversation?
I mean, but
the inside man is clearly Prigozhin. That's where he's been.
Yeah. He's been hiding out.
That plot twist,
trading Hamas.
That plot twist would really go crazy. But no, you see liberals acting this way because, again, this is what happens when you lack class consciousness. This is what happens when you lack dialectical materialism. When you lack, honestly, sometimes really common sense. That you really think that Donald J. Trump is that sophisticated enough to solicit that much information and then plan it that far ahead? No, absolutely not. This is just simply I hate to sound so corny, the indomitable human spirit rising up against its oppressors.
Honestly, I blame these far right conspiracy theories and like QAnon and shit because I think it's like a way to keep people away from reality. It's like they distrust the government, but they gotta like, why do they always gotta like come up with these like crazy ass conspiracy theories and shit? Like, but also, I was gonna mention one way that like the freedom fighters in Palestine actually like kept everything that they were planning under wraps was because they were using the Chinese phone Huawei, I believe it's pronounced, but that phone is like it's more like has more firewalls than iPhones apparently. Like it's a lot of people are considering switching to that phone because a lot of the freedom fighters are using those phones and communicating with each other, and apparently it was a complete surprise attack, which guerrilla fight. This is a people's war. They're guerrilla. They're guerrilla fighters.
And as events like this keep happening, because it feels like these have been happening, and we're getting more and more around the world. It is really showing just how vulnerable countries like Israel or Russia or Ukraine, United States, any of these countries that have like oppressive systems. It shows how easily they can just fall apart and scramble. Like Israel, for all we know, it really was just truly a surprise attack and they missed it. It just completely gets rid of this idea that they are an impenetrable fortress with the top security on the planet, to the point where I don't know if you saw, there was a team of New York law enforcement out in that area for training purposes, and they got caught in all of it.
Really?
Yeah, I read. I'll see if I can find that article about that.
Yeah,
Did
I
they
was
make
reading
it?
It earlier. What?
Did they make it out?
I don't fucking care if they did, but I'll look it up here in a second. But it's like it just really shows like all it took was a very well planned attack, and just everything shut down. Now, of course, Israel's responding with extreme, like all out war. Like they were already doing this to the Palestinians, but like on paper and as far as the international community is concerned, it is all out war. And then blatantly committing war crimes with the white phosphorus. And liberals around the world are just ignoring it.
White phosphorus. What are you talking about? No,
it's just lights. Like,
right.
And they're just blatantly ignoring it.
Yeah.
Right.
Ken thought. Someone else can go.
well, yeah, like Falcon said in the comments, Hasbara, if people watching don't know, or if you guys don't know, Hasbara is basically the Israeli propaganda service where they offer students either reduced tuition fees or totally free tuition to like go online and be a bot for Israel and do apologia.
That reminds me of that website that people have been talking about, Canary Mission. I actually went on there to see if I was on there. I'm not, but I actually have a few comrades that are on there, so that just means I'm not based enough, I guess. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that website, because they actually dox and they like expose people. They'll call people's jobs in schools and get them kicked out for supporting quote unquote T words. I don't want to say that word. Or things like that. And
He
I
settled
think
it,
it's a way to like scare like Palestinian activists in all countries, especially in the West, from supporting Palestine. Because I mean that's crazy. I mean that's almost, I feel like that like treads on the First Amendment here in America, but I guess that's like a topic for a video or something. I mean, because it's the Canary Mission, it's crazy. You go on there and it's always just brown people most of the time that are
Yeah.
labeled
Right.
T words and
Yeah.
things like
No,
that.
yeah.
So
They don't care about the First Amendment when it comes to actual opposition, right?
right.
They
Mhm.
will use every economic. They'll use sanctions against their own people, which is what this stuff is: doxing American citizens, telling their jobs, "Hey, this person supports X and X," getting them fired. That's exactly. I mean, it's more McCarthyist shit.
Mhm.
Never going to go away. But it's a good tool for them. It's been their best tool, quite honestly, outside of just subversive psyops and advertising things. When they have to do direct action against the masses, they do it that way.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then when it goes beyond that, then they'll shoot you up, and it goes on and on from there. But their best method of direct action is just threats like that. And when we're all divided and standing alone, then those threats are even stronger.
Mhm. Mhm.
For sure.
So that's why it's important, like when they start making attacks like this, when you see the media and the public square start centering on people, even if you don't agree with them, it's important to stand with them when they're on that when they're in the crosshairs to a certain extent. Like there's other leftists that I don't agree with on a lot of things, right? But when they get the full force of the media and the propaganda arm of the state forced upon them, you got to stand with them. You have to.
Yeah.
Just purity fetishes at that point need to go out the window. Like if it's an anarchist, if it's a left com, if it's a sock dem, if it's a Marxist-Leninist, Maoist, that shit doesn't matter when it comes to the state coming down on you. And that's why look at Hamas right now. That's why, because the state came down on the communists in the 60s and the 70s in all over the world. Not enough people stood with them, and this is what you're left with. You're left with options like Hamas, reactionaries to lead the charge. So,
Yeah, unfortunately, they are the vanguard of the Palestinian people.
nationalists. Yeah, the
Yeah.
national liberation movement is led by reactionaries, which sucks, but it's the material reality they have to do.
It's kind of what you got. And a lot of the conversations I was having earlier with like liberals online were like, well, the both sides bad. Israel's bad. We recognize Israel's bad, but Hamas does this and this. And it's like, well, Hamas is just a product of that. Like, yes, I would love if a just outright like Marxist-Leninist party was like a Bolshevik party was leading the charge to liberate Palestine. But that's not what we have. And right now, the reality of the situation is Palestine faces extermination or liberation. There's no in between, and they don't really have time to discuss or even truly think about the merits of the best way to do anything after the fact. They're just like, if we don't do this now, there's not going to be a later. We can figure it like, and I told one person in particular, I was like, look, let's say everything works out. Israel's defeated, right? Hamas is the new leader of Palestine, and then they start on some new reactionary bullshit. Yeah, then that changes the dynamic. But right now, that's not what we're dealing with. We're not thinking about tomorrow. We're thinking about right now.
Yeah.
We'll deal with tomorrow when it comes.
It's as Mao described perfectly, there's contradictions, different levels. There's primary contradictions.
Read my mind.
And then secondary and tertiary. The primary contradiction right now is that they're sitting in a fucking concentration camp.
Right.
Okay. There's no there's no national bourgeoisie of fucking Gaza to fight against. They need to get out of the fucking concentration camp.
Right. Exactly. I think a lot of the problem with the modern observer of political scheming, right, is I think a lot of people really see things not just black and white, but almost like either like movies or like video games.
Yeah.
So like in like Civilization or Hearts of Iron or whatever, like your country, you're communist now. That's it. Like
the consequences of Hollywood.
You reach the meter and like it's it. There's nothing else. There's no other nuance. Instead of understanding how many factors are really at play here. So I was talking to some other people in real life the other day, and there are real complaints that like we shouldn't be supporting this because Hamas is this, Hamas is that. They're radical Muslims or against LGBTQ. But the reality is that, and what I said in the chat was to take the LGBTQ issue as an example. What is marriage equality if your wedding gets fucking bombed to man or woman or NB? It doesn't fucking matter because you're all in prison. So the only way that you can live, you can even have that debate of ideas or whatever, is to get out of the prison. So everyone's going to band together. Nationalists, communists, go.
And make no mistake, Israel does not support the LGBTQ rights for Palestinians.
No,
because they do not support rights in general, period, for Palestinians.
Correct.
So there's the argument is unnecessary because LGBTQ people are getting bombed anyways. You know what I mean?
To say that like another way too, it's just like, okay, does Hamas support LGBTQ rights? Not really, but
of course not.
Does Israel support the Palestinian right to exist? They see them as animals. They use the same language that a certain country did in the 40s, in the 30s and 40s.
As all sorts of countries have for centuries.
All sorts of countries, but for the liberals that see this, who can only seem to think about one instance of something like this happening, it's that exact language.
Right. Even America did it before that country in the 1940s.
Yeah, but, that country goes inspired by America.
Let's
the British.
Let's look at this real quick. An MSNBC article. Israel defense minister announces siege on Gaza to fight human animals. What fucking disgusting language. Israel's defense minister on Monday announced the complete siege of Gaza, describing the Palestinian fighters who attacked Israel more like is not real over the weekend as human animals. I mean, what else is there to say when you see something like that? I mean, that is the language of ideology in the 1945 Europe. Like, there's no way that when you start to dehumanize people, you are calling for pest control.
Let's also not forget to point out that most of Gaza is fucking women and children.
Yeah,
50% children.
Yeah,
because their adults keep dying,
and they will take children. Israel will take those children if they don't shoot them, like the snipers don't shoot them. They'll arrest them and put them in military trials and treat them like adults. Like they just treat the kids like adults.
You threw a rock at me.
You threw a rock at my armored tank. I'm gonna hang you. Like that kind of shit.
This recent comment talks about the PFLP fighting alongside Hamas, and that reminds me a lot of the Chinese Revolution, or at least beforehand when they had to get rid of Japan. So like
Japanese.
Yeah. And so like Mao even understood that he had that the people had to align with who they consider their enemy at the time to help liberate themselves. I mean,
because there's a cause that unites them.
Well,
Yeah.
because
exactly.
because Mao understood that even though the nationalists were capitalists and bourgeois assholes, they still at least had the interests of some Chinese people in mind.
Right.
Right.
Japan didn't. Japan had the interests of getting rid of them.
Mhm.
Right.
Nanking is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Right.
We
And
have proof.
Japan, just like Israel. I mean, well, at least Japan just erases history, I guess, and they're similar to, I guess, the South. They have like a similar doctrine. It's actually pretty crazy that rabbit hole gets pretty deep. You know, a lot of Japanese citizens don't even believe that Japan did anything bad during World War II.
Sounds
You
familiar.
know, yeah, does sound familiar, doesn't it?
It's very familiar.
Right, and
It's that cultural hegemony. The closer you are to it, and the further away, you kind of wind up mirroring it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Real quick, while I have it up, and then we'll continue the movement here. Here's that article that you sent me, Cruz. NYPD brass part of delegation in Israel when Hamas launched surprise attack.
So they were not in Gaza, because I read it while we were doing it. They were not actually in Gaza, like I was originally led to believe. They were about 20 miles outside of it. But they did have to take cover from debris and other attacks, and then they did evacuate. So
Right.
they're back.
Is
They're back there.
that the group that Cory Booker was with? Because he wound up just like shitting his pants because he had to go
saw that.
shelter. He's like, "Oh, I'm so horrified," and he's got his stupid Cory Booker eyes where he looks like he's gonna cry.
If you have that TikTok, send it to me. I'll play it. But yeah. So I mean, looking at that article, that is why part of this episode is titled "Language as a Weapon," because right here in the beginning, in the first paragraph, attending counterterrorism and anti-Semitism training near the Gaza Strip when radical Islamic militants launched a deadly surprise attack on Israel this weekend. So right now, right here, radical Islamic militants. Now, is Hamas radical and Islamic and militant? Sure, but it was more than just Hamas, like we were just saying, and like just pointed out that Morte was acknowledging. It was also the Popular Liberation Front. It was also the Marxist-Leninists. It was also everyday people who probably didn't even really belong to any group, just saying like, listen, man, we got to do what we got to do.
Personally, radical, militant, and Islam, those things are all groovy with me anyway. So, I mean, that's just me. Those are good things to be.
You go the radical Islam, bro.
Well, so like and this isn't to downplay the reactionary qualities of Hamas or even reactionary elements within the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine.
Right.
But Hamas did literally tell its people to leave churches alone.
Right.
Yeah.
Women and elderly Islam too.
Leave churches alone and leave women and children alone. So their goal was to target military targets.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, this is a conflict, and just like literally every single conflict ever, some people did bad shit while that was happening.
Correct.
Big surprise. Like people are freaking the fuck out about it because brown people are doing it, and it's not Palestine, and it's not Israelis doing it, because Israel's been doing this for forever. Since 1948, since before 1948.
Well, it's like no, you first.
Well, if it was Ukraine, it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Bro, hit us with
the way. The way they think that, like, back to the language of like that article, it's like a surprise attack, and the way they word it, it's like it came out of nowhere, it's unprovoked. Like, I've been seeing so many articles and people talking, it's like, this is a very unprovoked attack, there's no reason to do that. And I get this idea that a lot of people think that Palestine is set up like the exact same as Israel in terms of like water quality, building quality, like quality of life, and it's just like they just It's just a bunch
separate
of
but equal creators.
yeah, it's just a bunch of Arabic Muslims that hate Jewish people, and that's how it's always been framed. So a lot of these liberals are like, oh, a huge explosion killed a bunch of people, and it was these people that did it. Why did they do that? Because they're not paying attention. And they have no reason to pay attention because the media that they consume specifically hides it from them, unless it's like too newsworthy to let slide.
If you turn this into a Marvel movie,
okay,
or
go for it. I'm interested.
Some sort of Hollywood script, and then like the blue people broke out of their concentration camp, and among and during the fight, a few innocent Dark Lords got killed or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I can't watch these Marvel movies. Like the bad. A few of the bad guys got clipped that weren't really so bad. That were sort of bystanders. I feel like if their popcorn wouldn't even stop moving.
Yeah.
But because they get it framed from the imperialist media as like these just random bystanders. Like it was a fucking they had a fucking rave going on right outside of a concentration camp.
I think you mean peace concert.
The absurdity of such a thing even existing, and then when the people break out of the concentration camp and people at the revelry going on outside of the concentration camp get fucking clapped, somehow the people at the revelry are the victims. I want to slap every one of these motherfuckers in the face.
Larry getting louder and louder as he's talking.
Let the passion out, Larry.
Bro's cooking.
Hey,
he's back there cooking a nice meal.
Lenin told us in our propaganda to get angry because we don't want the worst thing we could have is boring propaganda.
Absolutely, and like Billy Dipperly, whatever. I wanted to say Billy Dripoli, but dyslexia. Literally 3.3 miles away from the world's largest open-air prison. From the world's largest prison. I mean, let's just keep it a buck, right?
Yeah, it's just a concentration camp. Fuck it.
It has 5 million people in it, I think, right?
I was going to say, we shouldn't even really call it... Like, it's a straight-up concentration camp.
That
is exactly what it is.
Yeah, you're going to look at population. Yeah, it's a crazy amount of people.
And I've seen comparisons for another... someone else I was trying to frame it for liberals specifically. Like, right now, the equivalent is when the Warsaw Ghetto uprising happened.
Yes.
These liberals are supporting the people that own the concentration camp and condemning those people because they rose up in a violent manner and didn't peace talk or vote. I sent you guys that comment someone sent me earlier, and they're like, maybe they shouldn't have voted Hamas in. And I was like, what did you just say to me?
Right. No, exactly. Like. Sometimes I feel the world would be a better place if we could slap adults like right in the mouth, like especially liberals.
My first provision, if I am elected General Secretary of Global Communism, is you can just sock someone in the face no matter what. If they're being a lib,
You could just call them like one-on-one combat, and it could be
going back to duel rules. You take off your glove and you smack them and use a punch.
Right, exactly. I got
open hand.
I got something on the screen.
Hey, we could critique each other, with whether it's the fist or with the mouth.
Fist, huh?
So in Gaza, it's roughly 2 million people.
2 million, yeah.
So I just wanted to bring this up too while we talk about how many people are in Gaza. So Muerte found this picture, and I mean, just some Zionist try to explain to me how is this not genocide? Like, I don't mean to be like forget context, but like you should never forget context.
Yeah.
But just looking at this.
Just purely on a geographical perspective.
Right. Like as a child's like thought process, a child could figure out like that something is awry going on.
Why green keep getting smaller? What happened?
I'm sending you a picture that was posted earlier today on Reddit. That was a nice like side by side with that.
Right.
And it's taking the exact same thing, but using Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And then having like
I
the same
saw
partitions
that.
happening as like this is Israel, this is Ireland, this was
Yeah.
Israel, and then this is what's happening. So
I
imagine that.
reposted
It's white people. Imagine if this was happening to white
Imagine
people.
if white
Yeah.
people were suffering for a second, just because you can't seem to think about brown people for longer than like whether like which Marvel movie they're in.
And
To
it did
Larry's
happen it literally did happen to Irish people. That is why there's so many Irish people not living in
Go
Ireland who are
Go
currently in the United States.
Bro,
The only
Ireland
reason we're
is-
here is
Ireland
literally
is
because
super.
that is what happened. The British did it to Ireland.
Exactly.
And then they literally gave the playbook to the Israeli people
He said, "Do it like this."
in Palestine because the British did this also to Palestine because they literally gave it to the Zionists without consulting the Palestinians after promising them the land.
What we're
Like,
saying
come on,
is,
like the fuck.
everything goes back to the Brits.
Yeah.
Fuck the British.
Or even we could even say the Romans. You know, we're always thinking about the Romans, right? That's what
Honestly,
we
man,
determined. Every guy is thinking about the Roman Empire.
No,
Honestly, the British are only the British because of the Romans, okay?
Exactly. Exactly.
Literally.
Why
It's
you
all-
The
fucking
British used to be Irish people,
stupid?
then the Romans came and turned them into fucking pieces of shit.
Yeah, for real. God damn. All right, a couple things.
I got beef with Rome. Don't.
A
bring it up.
couple things. You know you're in the wrong when Ukrainian soldiers who are sympathetic to Europe 1945, country next to France, that's not Spain. If any audio listener in the future, you're wondering why we're talking like this, it's because we're streaming to TikTok at the same time. So I have to censor, find us some nebula one day. But anyway, when you have those people with their hijacked Buddhist symbol or Hindu symbol next to the Israeli flag and being like, yeah, kill those motherfuckers. Like,
You're talking about that image I sent earlier, right?
I can't show it. Yeah.
I know you can't show it. Yeah. I was going to say, please don't show it because we'd be definitely nuked. We have to call Comrade Shi.
Cursed images appearing these last couple days and really the last couple of years since we've had some growing conflicts in certain parts of the world. It's just interesting how one side has a proliferation of that sort of imagery and the other side it's almost completely non-existent. Just curious.
It's interesting to me just like how people have to frame it to understand it or care.
Yeah.
And it can't just be people are suffering.
Right.
And there's two incredibly annoying aspects about this because on one hand, and this is undeniable because I've literally seen it in my own comments on videos talking about this, right? There are, Yahtzees, right? That are excited about what is happening currently. And they want it, they want it to happen, right? Yeah. Because obviously they are anti-Semites, right? Mm-hmm. But then you also have, on the other hand, a prime minister of the state of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, right? Who literally does apologia for Mustache Man. Mm-hmm. Literally does apologia for Mustache Man. Because if you look at this, and I'm sure at some point we could find a link, put it in the description of the video or whatever, but literally he blames Palestinians for, what happened in the 1930s to Jewish folk. And says that there was apparently, allegedly, a Palestinian Arab nationalist who went to Mustache Man and convinced him to do it. So
therefore, we should do it again.
Like,
to other
yeah.
people.
Yeah, well, it's like, it's vengeance. It's vengeance on the Palestinians for what happened, because it's, they're trying to rewrite history, so that way they have a proper casus belli to do what they want to do to Palestine, which is erase it from the map and erase the existence of the people who live there.
So speaking of which, I think that's a good segue to kind of move on a little bit in the sense of talking about the international reactions to what has happened. So you say wipe off Palestine from the map, and I mean we already went over what the defense minister called the Palestinians human animals, but now we have not only a U.S. Navy group headed towards the shores of Israel, we also have the world's largest naval warship headed to Israel. And there's a lot of speculation as to exactly what's going to happen. If this is just United States sort of doing a paper tiger, just trying to support their homies, or like what you were saying yesterday in chat, Cruz, that perhaps this is a situation where basically if Hamas and the freedom fighters are able to hold their gains, then U.S. troops, or at least support, will come into the war. And now, literally as we're recording, there are more and more people putting their hands in the cookie jar, so to say. But let's strictly talk about the United States.
Yeah.
So I think it goes for all of us here to say the U.S. is not going to support. He's not going there in a humanitarian mission. They are going there to ensure they do not lose their military base. That is Palestine. And as awful as a book as 1984 was, the concept of in that book, like England is basically just a giant like military base. It's literally called Airstrip 1. That's what Israel is.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that to like discredit the people who live there or call for genocide of those people. No, not at all. But it is essentially a parking lot for the U.S. military to keep Iran, to keep Iraq, to keep Saudi Arabia, to keep anybody in West Asia in line.
It is a perfect landing zone for any activity that the United States wants to do in the Middle East. Or
they have the
also,
Mediterranean
or
Sea,
even
and,
also moving up, like if they want to go through like other conflicts like Azerbaijan, the Armenian-Azerbaijan conflict that's still going on, Russia, Ukraine, anything of that nature, that's right there. It's all right there. Did we lose your sound?
And we should have a live about this, or a video about this at some point, because we are talking about this right now because it's very important, and it's currently like happening, but unknowingly to most of the world, currently in Armenia, in the Nagorno-Karabakh region, there is an ethnic cleansing occurring.
Yeah,
of
they
Armenians.
they are on year 3 of it.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And there's only, unfortunately, in the world of capitalism, where we either all have full-time jobs or are in school to get jobs to pay fucking bills and landlords. We only have so much time to talk about these things, but Cutie, you're absolutely right. And even though it's not, it hasn't reached this level yet of Larry, your face, it hasn't reached this level of anything like ethnic cleansing, but something I did want to bring up, and we'll have to do a video on it, or I will, whatever, is in my home country, in Guatemala. Now, there is a lot of instability because basically there was a new presidential elect, Arvelo. I'm not good at pronouncing names. But basically,
Said that
he's
so
not.
right.
He's I'll kick you out of this chat. I will kick you out of this chat right now. You say it.
I'm sorry. What's his name again? Put it in the chat. I don't even know his name.
I have to look it up.
I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah, you should be. Yeah, you said it's so white. Fuck you. Let's see. There's a right. No, not you. Here you go. You fucking. Beanbag. I sent it to you.
Oh, you sent it to me?
Yeah, in the private chat.
The suspense is killing me.
Arevalo.
Fuck you. That guy. He's not even a communist. He's not even like based at all. He's a sockdem, and he was basically like, maybe we should improve conditions somewhat. I do believe in private property though, and the Supreme Court in Guatemala banned his political party, even though he won the presidency. So like, even though it's not ethnic cleansing, like the tensions in the world are rising all over. The contradictions are contradicted.
The end is near.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe.
For capitalists.
Don't get the evangelicals too fucking riled up.
Yeah, they're hype about this.
Oh, they're
The
going
end is
crazy.
nigh. God will
my
return.
God. If I sometimes I come across like some of the craziest videos, and I blame myself for my algorithm, I guess, but like it's because I've duetted like conspiracy theorists, and like I'm like, how old are you, bro? And like I think when I interact with them, like it just keeps showing me this shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a lot of them thinks
Yep.
they think it's like the end of the world, and like fucking some old civilization named Tartaria is gonna come back or something like that, and then
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Tartaria.
It's
Yeah.
Tartaria or whatever. Yes. Yes. I mean, you didn't know?
Yeah,
I'm
they
so-
built
I'm-
the
I-
Great Wall, right?
Yeah, they built the Great Wall of China, and every other like advanced like Roman-esque looking building, Greek-looking building was built by them actually, and they erased all of our minds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You couldn't erase the part that got rid of capitalism?
No, I don't know. I guess that's part of the plan.
He accidentally erased communism from human nature.
Yeah.
So.
For real.
Too real. More like it's not real, but I'm gonna keep making that joke anytime.
It's a great joke, and I think it should ramp up.
You know,
I think we
like
should
that joke.
up production on is not real.
I like that joke. Like stickers.
Ooh, merch.
Ooh, merch drop, and this is our announcement.
We're capitalists now.
Yep.
This is all a joke. Support is. I can't even joke.
Oh yeah, buy our classes also $200. A day. So.
Yep, $200 per day. And the book itself that you have to buy for the class is $300. Like it's a college level course.
Or we could just print everything you need from Marxist.org for an extra like $200 fee.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I'll be teaching it while throwing darts at the picture of the Queen. So you can't get that anywhere.
Based.
That's true. That's true. So moving on to the reaction of the rest of the world. Xi Jinping came out himself and basically out of the closet and said that he believes that Palestine should be its own nation. And, base W, extremely common W.
Marxist-Leninist, dialectical materialist,
Mm-hmm. China is willing to play a positive role to help the Palestinians achieve eternal reconciliation and promote peace talks with Israel. Is not real. Chinese President Xi Jinping told his Palestinian counterpart in Beijing on Wednesday. Here we go. The fundamental solution to the Palestinian issue lies in the establishment of an independent Palestinian state based on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital.
Pretty clear language of what
not good enough from Xi Jinping. It should return to the just the whole thing being Palestine.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Yes.
They don't even have to get rid of Israelis. It just needs to be a legitimate state that is controlled by the people who fucking live there.
Well, it's crazy. I watched this video about this Israeli settler. She was talking about when she first arrived in what is now is not real. They had Palestine passports. They had Palestine driver's license and IDs. They had Palestine birth certificates if they're born there. And so it just comes to show that like this is literally colonialism and genocide. And
Yeah.
Well,
And,
it's
like-
my understanding that a lot of the reason why they even have those passports and signifiers is so Israeli checkpoints can not allow them through.
Mm,
Yeah.
mhm.
French.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm sure that a lot of them who used to have those passports they're probably long gone, and they probably got it is not real passports as probably now. But yeah, it's no two-state solution. It's not going to be Israel anymore. It's it's going to be Palestine as it
I
should
did
be.
see one person that said, "Yeah, I believe in a two-state solution. Sure, two Palestines might be a little much, but why not?
North and South Palestine.
North and South Palestine."
Yeah. I was gonna say it on one of my videos that the only two-state solution I support is a united Ireland and a united Palestine.
Absolutely.
Oh my God. Based. Well, I think I was talking to somebody about it yesterday, and I think a lot of liberals, they can't get through the surface on many things, but so they don't understand the literal naming of Israel and the founding of Zionism. And I'm no expert in this at all, but I think they fail to understand that it's not like this land just 1,000 years ago was just Israel. They literally called their settler colonial project Israel based off what was in the Bible. So what they're essentially saying is this land that we've picked is Israel now. And it could have been anywhere.
Yeah.
We're deciding it's here.
Yeah, they originally had plans for, I believe, Madagascar, Uganda, and apparently in Argentina, like southern Argentina.
Something else that got claimed.
Yeah, that got claimed by the other people in the country.
But like really, like the foundation of Israel, even within the Bible, right? When Israel acts like I believe they referred to the Bible as like their deed to the land, right, or their historical deed, right? The literal creation of Israel in the Bible relies upon these people wandering around the desert for 40 years, even though it would have taken something like 4 days to get there, right? They're wandering around in the desert for 40 years, and then God gives them this land, right? And guess what? There's a group of fucking people already living there. They're called Canaanites.
No.
And do you know who happens to be descendants of Canaanites today?
Who?
Please tell us.
Palestinians. So
Right.
literally the creation of Israel, even within the fantasies of the Bible and the Torah, rely upon a settler colonial project of getting rid of the indigenous inhabitants of the region.
Right.
Mhm. Sounds familiar.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it does. I feel like I've heard this rhetoric before, a few times actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God. So what else do we got here? Let's
The
break
world
up
ending question mark?
So not necessarily any of that, but there is something I had brought up in our chat yesterday, and I want to bring it up again because an Israeli politician brought it up. And that was the fact that this is happening not only in an area that is a settler colonial project, but Israel is a nuclear country.
Yeah.
And
that's scary to think about.
let's see. From 11 hours ago, Ment Press reported that Israeli politician Tali Gottlieb, I'm assuming that's how you say it, called for the use of nuclear weapons during Israel's latest onslaught on the Gaza Strip, saying, quote, "Doomsday weapon, that is my opinion." So you have politicians within Israel saying nuke them.
Well, isn't
which
like
is
the minister
completely
of defense?
illogical. Completely illogical. Makes no sense, and that will harm them more than it would do what they want. But it's just like the fact that someone even said it out loud.
Well,
is-
it's like that movie that we had in our we did like the movie night we had for our Discord. Join the
Mhm.
Discord, DM one of us.
Everyone joined the Discord for movie.
The movie night that we had for Come and See, that Ivan and I saw, right, it's almost like they're comically evil, like
Yeah.
just like absurd, like insane evilness. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they literally do not see the Palestinians as people deserving
Yeah.
of rights. So as such, you know, what is comically evil to us just seems like being unkind to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, and it's also hard to sit around and think that any Middle Eastern country that supports Palestine will sit around and allow them to basically annihilate Palestine with nuclear weapons. I think it would end badly for
Yeah.
sure, but they wouldn't sit back and watch as that happens, because a lot of them have already shown their support.
Yeah.
So let's just hope it doesn't go down to that, though. I mean, this is, if you think about it, this is kind of like their Cold War. Never mind, not even that.
No.
This is way more complex than that.
This is very
And,
hot.
like,
I feel like.
Hey.
yeah. This
I
is
mean,
like,
like
That's
I
sort of-
said last night, and like Billy Dipperly is saying, Israel is not a very big place. It's
No.
actually, dare I say, small. And if any part, literally any area in Israel or Palestine isn't real. Or whoa,
What?
whoa, misspeak,
What?
double
All right,
speak,
Cancel,
oopsie,
cancel,
poopsie,
cancel,
snapshot.
clip. Yeah, so in Palestine, right? So in the Levant, any area that would have a nuke dropped on it, right? Everybody would be fucked. Like,
Yeah, it would fuck everyone.
The state of Israel would not be taking a W on this. Like
Right.
it would literally be like Armageddon for them, because it's like right next door.
Right.
Mhm.
Like
And
it's not
to
like
get-
Gaza's a force field that's gonna keep in all of nuclear hellfire.
Right. And to kind of bring this one home here for people in the States, especially if you know anything about the area I'm from, which is St. Louis. We've had since about a decade ago the Ferguson riots after the shooting of Michael Brown.
Right.
And really, I've always tried to explain it to comrades, when I'm out in my community and talking to people, working people, how Ferguson, the city, St. Louis, those of us out here in the periphery, you'll get, the further you get away from the inner city, you'll get more. It's like this in most American cities, especially former Rust Belt cities like St. Louis that were manufacturing centers where capital flight happened and white flight happened.
Mhm.
The further you get out, you notice this same rhetoric that the Israelis are using, nuke them, even though they're their neighbors. That sort of rhetoric gets thrown around here when there's uprisings in the city. Like when Ferguson happened, you had literally an occupying, and people don't understand that the people in places like Ferguson and the other neighborhoods, the municipalities around St. Louis, these communities are living under occupation. It's not a concentration camp like you see in Israel,
Right.
but it is definitely occupied territory, and the enemy is the police, whereas the people that live in these communities are the Palestinians. It's a very similar dynamic,
and those
you'll see people here in the suburbs that look like me. When this thing comes up, they'll say, "Oh, we'll just go down there. We'll just do an airstrike down there." Every time something happens, and it's been like that, and it's been ratcheting up for a decade here.
And not only that, but I'm glad you brought that particular aspect up, because those two conflicts are also directly linked with Israel, because Israel does train and help fund a lot of our police force, and
Yes, they
the
do.
Palestinians do support. They had a lot of support during the BLM movement,
Yep.
And like a lot of solidarity there. So like,
yes,
these conflict, all of this is very intrinsically linked to one another.
For sure. And I think even just in this group alone, like we have a pretty, I mean, this event is affecting everybody in the world, but just in this group alone, like we all have some sort of aspect of being somewhere on the colonial playing field. Like, me and Muerte being indigenous and Hispanic, having literally been where our existence is owed to a genocide, to mass artwork. Cutie with Irish roots, and with literally a chunk of Ireland still being occupied today, and you Cruz, being mixed, being half white and half, or was it quarter? I don't remember, but partially, Mexican.
I think we agreed on 2.25.
Somewhat.
I'll do one
between 0 and 100.
Every percentage counts.
And then listen, and like not even try to be funny, but like. And then Larry's white ass, who doesn't even get the benefits of imperialism, who has to still be here and be poor, while his country just pillages the world. Like, that's so crazy.
Well, to be fair to Larry,
Larry,
his ancestors did have to live underneath the Tsar, so that was probably rough.
Yeah, and my ancestors are also non-Zionist Jews, so I got that.
W.
There you go.
W.
There you go. W. But I also wanted to ask you, Larry, like when you were even more of a strapping young lad than you are now, when you were first getting into organizing and all that stuff, like what was the news landscape like with Israel? Like, was it still the same kind of like fuck them, Palestinians are just animals?
Oh yeah, it was exactly the same as you see today.
Right.
So when I first became politically conscious, you would see, let's see, the first big breakout when I was younger would have been 2004, which was in the midst of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. So everything that had to do with Islam at that time was demonized as shit. Like, the propaganda today is different. We've lived through that war on terror phase and seen the contradictions of it and sort of lived through, and a lot of us have gained some class consciousness and gained, or at least started to question matters, right? Like even a lot of the working class in the States these days, like most of us agree that all of those military actions in the first decade of the new millennium were bad, right?
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't benefit from that. Like I can go out into my area and talk to a Trumper, someone who loved Obama, someone who voted for Biden, and someone who is like me, and they're all going to pretty much agree on that point, except the further up in the class strata you go. If I start talking to a Trump supporter that owns a small business, they're not going to really have. They're going to be sort of. It's like Lenin said: the petty bourgeoisie are the most patriotic people because they're sort of entrenched in this state. The state is part of them, and they have less international relations. So the higher in strata you gain in the class system, the more you'll find these people that are really just gung-ho for war, things like that. So as I've rambled on, yes, the propaganda when I first became politically aware was even worse than it was today, and it worked even more because we had just been attacked in 9/11.
Right.
So people hated Palestine because they were Muslim. Now there's a more sympathetic take.
Am I the only one who remembers that trend in like 2017 where everybody was pro-Palestine? Like all the liberals were pro-Palestine, weren't they? Like I swear there was a phase in like
I'm sure.
because like that's like you see it all over. People just put it on as like their profile picture or something like those.
It's something trendy. Yeah.
It was the same thing with putting the black profile picture. You know what I mean?
Right.
During the George Floyd rebellions, like
Yeah.
You know, it's just showing that me in the white diaspora, I support all my brown homies, except for all of a sudden now they don't, because this event in itself is threatening to. Well, let me rephrase.
Okay.
Events like this are showing that the West is losing control more and more. And the bourgeois in the United States and in the West are recognizing that they have to step up their rhetoric, their propaganda, and their force in order to try to hold on to capitalism, to prevent it from falling apart. So now that's why you're having these liberals who a couple years ago were putting the Palestinian flag in their bio and in their profile picture, but now you're seeing people like Cornel West, like Bernie Sanders, like your aunt on Facebook, literally saying both sides. I can't. I used to support Palestine, but now I don't because people died. Look, at the end of the day, no one wants to see random civvies get domed, of course, but you put these people in a cage and they're going to react. You treated them like animals, so they're going to react. There's no telling what can happen. And what I was saying earlier, like, these people aren't soldiers. They're just human beings who are trying to survive, and they're gonna fight tooth and nail. And you're not there. Okay, you're seeing media that's being curtailed to you to say, look how bad they are. Look what they did to these peace people at the peace concert. Instead of every single one of these people in this, millions of people in this world's largest prison, know somebody immediately in their circle who died, was murdered, was R-word, was assaulted, was decapitated. Like, the Israeli Defense Force does this every day. There is no break, 24/7, 365. So you can't be surprised that these people, when they're in that moment, when they're in the combat, when there's bullets flying, that they're not thinking about all the little boys and girls, all the fucking grandmas, all the grandpas, their wives, their husbands, whoever. They're not, of course, they're thinking about that, and they're going to do something about it, and they did do something about it. That is decolonization. That is liberation. It is not a dinner party. It is not a tweet.
Yeah. And unfortunately, not nearly enough people understand what decolonization, liberation, and revolution actually looks like. It's dirty, it's messy, it's violent, and it's unpleasant. And ultimately, the goal is for people in the future to look back at what had to be done and go, wow, what a barbaric time, but here we are because of it.
Right.
I don't know. Instead of voting for Hamas, they probably should have voted for Israel to leave.
Have they tried voting for Israel to leave?
I have a petition.
I'm
going to start a change.org. Let's tell Israel to leave Gaza alone.
I saw a picture of it was a Native American holding a knife to a conquistador's neck, and like someone posted it, and they're like, liberals at the time would be like, "Is this what you support?" ?
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, I mean, that's
any decolonization effort, it would be pushing.
I actually have a quote I want to read from you guys from Walter Rodney. I posted on my "I'm like a boomer like Larry" on my Facebook.
Yes.
By what standard of morality can the violence used by a slave to break his chains be considered the same as the violence of the slave master?
Is that Fannin?
No, Walter Rodney.
Okay. Oh, okay. But just to throw it out there, I guess, read Fannin, Wretched of the Earth.
Yeah.
Everyone out there, please.
Yeah, for real.
But have you considered vote blue no matter who?
Well, I mean, you know what?
Have you really?
Well, you know what? Since Biden is a communist, I'm going to vote for him this year.
Okay,
he's going to get reelected.
But the memes of like where it's the fucking baboon on the phone with the call waiting music, and it's like Zelensky calling Biden because he has missiles for Israel.
Apparently, Ireland is flying the Palestinian flag. By the way, and
I'm gonna go
people in
get me a-
and people in
I'm gonna go give me a-
Palestine are waving the Irish flag at Israeli soldiers.
Oddly enough,
It's
so
just
is
been happening for a long time.
Have they?
Denmark.
I haven't
is
ever
flying.
seen that particular like imagery from there before. Like, I guess I've just never seen that picture, but it's being shared a lot right now. Like that solidarity that's there.
Yeah.
Well, with Palestinians using the Irish flag, that's been happening for a while.
Okay.
I know the Irish Republican Army, and the PLFP or the PFLP. My bad. They've been, putting out all sorts of propaganda for a really long time that it's one struggle.
Yeah.
But to my knowledge, what you're referring to is Ireland flying the Palestinian flag to the right of the Irish flag on their Capitol building, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's recent.
And the EU attempted to stop all like funding or cash flow and aid to Palestine, and Ireland blocked it.
Yep.
Ireland, Denmark, and Luxembourg. Luxembourg.
Oh, Luxembourg blocked it too.
Luxembourg.
Based Luxembourg.
in Spain also. Spain is also usually pretty based when it comes to Palestinian aid.
Which is good, but
which is ironic.
Yeah.
Unusual for Spain, but the Spanish people are awesome. Their government has always been kind of.
Yeah, that's pretty much sentiment goes all around at this point.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not gonna say that. I was about to get us booted.
People are usually pretty good. It's the people in power that typically are not.
For sure. So
you guys sound like anarchists.
Don't ever fucking say that. Don't ever say that.
I'll come through the screen.
Don't gulag.
Hey, you know what?
I just don't like the truth.
I kind of had a dunk the other day when people were being shit libs about the situation, and I said, well, maybe the Palestinians should have just mutual aided their way out of this. And I said that as a joke because, in a way, they did mutual aid their way out of this. Like, every day for them is mutual aid day.
Yeah.
So,
that's just a day.
Mutual aid is good. Good.
I didn't gulag him. He left on his own.
So yes, I am now an unironic anarchist. I'm now red and black.
All right, we're gonna have to change the logo. We're gonna have to
red
change.
Black, baby.
It's now an anarchist podcast.
Yeah.
I am now an anarcho
over my dead body. You guys.
Anarcho-colonist? Is that what you just said?
No, anarcho-Stalinist.
I heard
No.
anarcho-colonist, and I was like, hold on, how would that even work?
Easy, just portray
What
the
do you mean?
revolution.
How would that work? That's basically California.
Okay. In
Yes.
California, anarcho-colonist. Got it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're gonna get their commune together. That was the Haight-Ashbury movement. That was anarcho-colonists.
Okay.
They sound like libertarians, kind of.
Yeah.
This clip's gonna go crazy when I try to do mass line stuff in real life. And they're like, what do you mean by that?
No. The clip of me saying Palestine isn't real like 5 minutes ago. That's gonna be here for forever. It's
getting clipped.
Yeah, that is on.
Honestly, it should be clipped. You need to cancel me.
I'm making clips
You
right
need to
after this.
cancel me.
I need to be held accountable for my brain's involuntary actions.
It's
you know how sometimes they say when you have like a slip like that, it's just you're speaking your true inner thoughts.
I know.
We got you. We got it.
You guys got me. My Catholic just came out. It's really I believe it should be the Kingdom of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the video like that.
like fucking cringe videos.
I saw that video. It was like it showed like a Palestinian like saying it's Palestine, and it showed like a Zionist saying it's Israel, and then they show like a Chad, and it's like it's the kingdom of Jerusalem. It's like,
yeah, and he's
oh,
got
God.
it's like this meme where he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
and he's
my
like
God.
in like fucking Templar gear and shit.
No.
So
Not
there's a
the
movie
Templar.
called Kingdom of Heaven.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I saw a meme today where basically at the end when the guy that's in charge of the siege, when Saladin is sieging Jerusalem, right, to take it over, right? Afterwards, when he goes to surrender, he's like, "What is Jerusalem worth?" And then Saladin goes, "Nothing," and he walks away. And then he turns around and he goes, "Everything. It's
Yeah.
everything." And it's like it's
I
like
hate
one of
that
those
movie.
things where like it's just
Hate that.
funny as fuck because it's like what
What are you talking about?
I hate that movie. I used to love that movie when it first came out because I was still kind of uneducated on history. And then I took all of these early modern Europe classes and I learned a lot about the siege of Jerusalem. I'm like, that was worse than a Marvel movie.
You and these
I mean, at
Marvel
least they
movies, bro.
weren't like overtly and undeniably like Islamophobic. Like even in that scene where like he's
Yeah, yeah.
Saladin is literally like, yeah, you guys, you Christians, when you took this place, you got rid of everybody who wasn't Christian.
Yeah.
When I take this, I'm gonna let everybody hang out. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave your shit alone, bro.
Yeah.
For real.
It was very much a movie of its time. Came out in 2004. Again, same era that I was talking about when the last when the big outbreak happened there. But yeah, it was very much a movie of its time.
I was
We
12.
should collab with Comrade Evan on Left of the Projector about that movie, and
I
think that would
can't be a
cool
part
collab.
of it. Like I'll sit there and like, no, King Baldwin wasn't this. And like I'll be
Just all the
nitpicking
history.
too much history on that, and like, yeah, Renaud de Chatillon wasn't here.
He was actually a baron. He was not a peasant. Like,
right. Balin the blacksmith was not a blacksmith. He was actually a noble who was part of the kingdom of Tyr, or not Tyr. But,
I would watch
yeah,
that.
I'll get
I would
Toulon
watch you
or
just
some shit like
nitpick
that.
everything.
I
I would
think
watch
it's
that.
French.
No, I will ruin it.
The train derailed.
And they also
Palestine,
they always
Ohio.
seem obsessed with that guy with a mask. I forget what his name is.
Baldwin.
Baldwin. Yeah,
So-
that's what you guys were talking about Baldwin. Okay.
He had leprosy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I remember that.
and now my brain's flipping on me. I'm pretty sure it wasn't that Baldwin that had leprosy.
Like his dad or something.
What is going on? All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm
This
saying.
is a
Like,
tangent because
I was
Kingdom
gonna
of Heaven
say-
got brought up.
I know, I brought
This
up a
conversation
meme.
got
We're here
more
talking
derailed than the train in Palestine.
But you know what? This is important in a way because the title of our episode here is Language as a Weapon, and movies do manipulate history and utilize language to support colonial projects.
Tangentially related cruise off
the
topic.
Netflix,
Gotcha.
the Netflix
What? I tried,
special,
goddammit.
I will mute you all. The Netflix special that's going to come out from this event is going to go crazy because, yeah, it's literally going to be like white Israelis, hanging out and drinking at their cafe, whatever.
Yep.
And then it'll cut to like a dingy, dark dungeon, like grainy camera, and it'll be a bunch of guys who aren't really speaking Arabic. They're just like making sounds. And they all have the fucking bandiclav on, even though they're in a room with each other. And they're like got bullets and shit and whatever. And then like they walk into a kindergarten or what, it's just going to be terrible, and then John Cena from the American Warship's going to have to go in and, save Israel on his own and disarm the nuclear bomb that Palestine got a hold of. Like it's 100% beat by beat, probably what is going to happen. And
Joe Biden is going to land the plane in a lake and save all the Palestinians and Israelis.
His scene's gonna be like, hush up, boy. That's gonna be a scene right there.
He did give his full support, for Israel. So, I mean, what do you guys
Yeah.
think? Do you think if Hamas is able to hold its gains, that the United States would put troops on the ground or risk an escalating conflict? Because in the ultimate, ultra rare, extremely, extremely uncommon capitalist W,
Yeah.
Wagner troops are training Hamas fighters.
And I think Chechen troops are
Yeah.
ready to mobilize. And then I think we also heard Lebanese.
And Hezbollah.
Hezbollah is
And
like on the border.
and
Hezbollah.
Ready
the Taliban asked Iran if they could make a pilgrimage.
Yeah, like, can we?
They're like, listen, guys, we know we don't vibe with you too much, but what we both like is Palestine. So if we could both get some sort of arrangement where we can walk across your country and then get to Palestine, that'd be great. Thanks, Iran. I think Iran said no, but
I think Iran said no. I also saw Saudi Arabia told, I forget his name, Blinken.
Blinken. Abe Blinken.
He told Abe Lincoln that because Saudi Arabia was reportedly normalizing ties with Israel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they just announced that no, that's done.
Never mind.
That's not happening. They
took it back. They stepped back.
And Israel also bombed the Egyptian border today as well.
Did they? Wow.
Because they told people in Gaza to flee. They're like, get out of here. You go through the Egyptian border, and then they bombed the border.
It's very.
That sounds like a war crime.
It's all war crimes.
That's the military strategy, and it's literally what like they're told to do.
Yeah.
Is by targeting civilians, the idea is that they will pressure the fighters in Palestine, like the Palestinian fighters, to stop because they want their families to live.
Right.
So, but it's the most ridiculous plan ever. Because literally every time they do this, all it does is it increases the amount of fighters at the end of the day.
It's successful in radicalizing people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It shuts down Hamas for a few years, but then an unsurprising and unprovoked attack occurs, and suddenly everybody's like, "What happened?" And then they do it again.
It's just the natural consequences in these contradictions coming to fruition over and over, and it's they can't hold.
No, it's unsustainable.
Completely, and honestly, I do think we're, I mean, war in this section. This front with Palestine and is not real, is nothing new, of course, but it does feel this time to be something different. It seems like Palestine actually on an offensive now is something different. Calling for Hezbollah to help. All of these things. I'm trying to, sit back and judge the contradictions and, try and take a Marxist analysis of it. And because I care so much about the Palestinian cause, it's hard not to cheer on developments, but we also have to recognize this is part of a bigger system and how it operates. And this is, very much an expanding part of capitalist contradictions and how they are, contradicting and this could definitely spring up. Like we talked about nukes earlier, Israel nuking Iran is a real possibility if this thing goes.
Yeah, I said it in our chat yesterday that I have this feeling Israel will be the country to break the current I don't even know the word I'm trying to say here, but right now the United States is precedent. The United States is the only country to use a nuclear weapon against another country. And I have this feeling that Israel is going to be the second one.
Right.
Yeah. Again, and it'll be against Iran. It won't be against, it's
Only the
crazy.
craziest motherfucker will use it on their own, region, immediate region.
No, if it happens, it'll be used against Iran.
Yep.
And once we reach that point, we're talking like nobody knows what'll happen after that.
Yeah.
But I mean, to get to that point, there will also have to be, many factors of, obviously at that point, other powers within the region would be drawn in worldwide. It'd
be the World War III going on.
Yeah. And like seriously, since the turn of the last decade, from the beginning of the 2010s and the onset of the operation that destroyed Libya, we've really started, a lot of people have been talking about this multipolarity stuff, and it's real, it's true. The world is going back to a multipolar state because, again, the contradictions keep contradicting, and the system is going to consolidate, break apart at times, and then consolidate later. Right now, we're in a breaking apart period, and that breaking apart period means more contradictions and more war. People are like, oh, yes, we must get to bipolarity. Well, we're getting there whether we should or not. And it's probably a good development for proletarian struggle around the world. But objectively, it has also intensified bourgeois struggle between bourgeois powers. So be careful what you wish for, even, though it's sort of a thing on the left right now to be all for multipolarity. And we are too, but it's just, you have to understand that it's going to mean increasing contradictions and increasing conflicts, not fewer.
I would say I recognize multipolarity is happening, and in the current paradigm, multipolarity is better than the unipolar world that the United States has us all in a stranglehold under. But I wouldn't necessarily say I'm like in support.
Right. It's happening whether we support it or not.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, it's happening. I recognize it. I understand it, and I can describe it. But I wouldn't say I'm like, yeah, let's go multipolarity.
Right. And that's where you get the people who are calling themselves Marxists these days that are not Marxists. That maybe arrived there because they're anti. They seem to be. A lot of these are the Pat Sock type people fall into this, the Nazball, whatever you want to call them. They sort of don't really have a great understanding of Marx, but they reached that point because they were anti-establishment, right? They don't like the establishment, so they take on the trappings of Marx because it happens to be the fashionable thing to do, and anarchism is out. So,
right, yeah, and I
anarchism is a new hip thing.
I think it's the same thing applies when it comes to the whole thing with multipolarity is BRICS. BRICS this, BRICS that, BRICS in the third. That China is heavily involved with that, but the multipolarity that's being set up, you essentially have as if geopolitics was just a fucking playground, and the United States is just beating the shit out of kids left and right. And all the other medium-sized bullies are like, all right, we got to tag team this motherfucker. And they're going to tag team this motherfucker, and he'll never fuck with these people again. But now you have a bunch of medium-sized kids who are going to be competing to be the king of the castle. Right. So, when it's, and this is what we've been saying. So, when we talk about the Ukraine and, NATO war, while we critically support Russia in its fight against NATO, it doesn't mean that Russia is just going to automatically be better. The same thing applies to if Hamas is the main factor, the main force, along with the PFLP fighting against Israel. That doesn't mean I stan Hamas and would love to see Hamas be the only power in the region. No, I obviously want a socialist state, a Marxist-Leninist state, you anarchists, for Palestine. But in order to get to that point, Israel's gotta move. You gotta something's gonna go.
We got to break down the primary contradictions first before we can get down to.
As Engels described in Principles of Communism, communism is the process of the liberation of the proletariat and the creating of the conditions of the liberation of the proletariat. And right now in the Palestinian Israel region, that's the best we got to take us in that direction. That's what we need to support, even though we're critical of Hamas themselves. And should Hamas be the ruling party of a completely united Palestine and then starts enacting some reactionary stuff, then at that point we become extremely critical of that.
Right. Then we struggle against Hamas. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, like the struggle changes and evolves.
Support the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, and today, there are since the liberation of Palestine began a couple of days ago. I think it's the Al-Aqsa operation they're calling it, right? They are fighting together. Hamas and the PFLP are fighting together right now. And it's not like Hamas is the only people doing this, right? So we can give support to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine. You know what I mean? They're still there. They're doing work currently, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, not to just be so dramatic with my sigh, but it's really we don't know what's gonna happen in the next coming, like I said, hours or days. I have to say 2023 was a hell of a year to start Kollectiv because shit just keeps happening and shit's gonna keep happening. And this is only the start, and it's gonna be crazy. In a year from now, 6 months from now, 3 years from now, if we go back and watch this episode and be like, God damn, what did we get right? What did we get wrong? It's just like Mao said, we really just don't know.
Yeah. It's impossible to know. We can speculate, we can theorize, and we can look at kind of all the, me personally, the way I think is I try to look at every possible outcome, but there's always some outcome that could come completely out of left field, utilizing some information that I hadn't even thought of, or some thing that could, who knows what, like you said, who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, right. It's gonna be a hell of a thing when out of nowhere
I'm waiting for it. I'm like, something's coming.
He's such a piece of shit. You knew he was gonna up to no good. He can't even do it now.
I won't say anything.
Destroyed.
We know your tricks at this point.
Look, remember earlier this year, or earlier, was it this month? Maybe last month, the United States said aliens are real.
Yeah.
So this is where they're going to unleash them. What they didn't tell you is that the aliens have been training Israeli special forces.
Oh my god!
Hey, what they don't tell you is that the aliens.
Common alien. That's
interterrestrial L.
Hey, there you go.
Humanity first.
Yes, humanity first.
Ad Victorium.
I'm something of a humanist myself.
I'm something of a humanist.
Yeah.
Thousands of years from now, that's going to be a goddamn conversation.
Aliens start blowing up Israel. Hey, that's my white genocide. White apartheid state. Get out of here, aliens. Only I can kill. I gotta stop, or TikTok's gonna get.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Stop.
All right. I think we pretty much said all that we could say. I'm glad this was a lot more lighthearted than I'm going to put you in. A lot more lighthearted than I thought it was going to be, but that's good, because we got to keep that spirit up. And
I got no more tears left. It's all laughter now.
Yeah, it's an extremely intense situation, and ultimately we're sitting here in the Imperial Core watching it. I'm watching people in my area. I'm watching ships leave. I'm seeing mobilization. I'm seeing a lot of Israeli flags.
You
in the
shouldn't be
area I'm
letting
in.
them leave.
I'll be right back.
You're like, hey, just turn into
We're coming.
Rambo.
They're coming.
And it can be easy to get sucked down
Yeah.
into sort of a despair, but that is a win in that moment alone. Like, that's a win. A win for oppressed peoples is a win for all oppressed peoples. We share that victory, and if there is a defeat, we share in the defeat.
Mhm.
Did you write that down before you came onto the podcast, or?
No, that was a Shay quote.
There you go. There you go.
A Shay
Let's,
quote.
I was gonna say quote that. But it's already been quoted.
Let's end this with some other TikToks. Here we go.
Let's get some lightheartedness in here.
Take it.
This is Israel and Palestine.
I don't like this game.
100%.
Stop.
There's some anime ones. Cutie Pie sent me.
Oh look, there's a comrade.
I love the anime ones.
Don't. There's Rob right there. We need to get comrade on there on here soon.
Which one? Where? Oh,
Comrade Rob. Don't got
man.
Rob or whatever.
Don't tag Rob.
And
Don't
here
tag
we go.
yeah, don't tag Rob.
We gotta
don't
we
let him
gotta
get
end
your
it on this
toothbrush.
one.
Do it. Toothbrush.
What?
Don't gotta grab. He's gonna come get your toothbrush.
Look at Stalin and think of a big spoon.
All right.
I don't see the TikTok.
Thank you. No. What?
I don't know.
I don't know. I've lost my mind.
I'm gonna die. This is it.
Yeah, all crazy. Have a good night. Thank you, TikTok people. Thank you, YouTube people. You guys are sexy.
Good night.
Rub butter on each other.
Oh my God.
Whatever you gotta do. Bye.
Bye.